Hello and welcome back to A Better World. This is your host and I'm very glad you're joining us again today. Today we're going to have another very interesting show. We have asked back a wonderful human being from Peru, Jorge Hachumak, who is a shaman, medicine man, who has been traveling the world since I've seen him last, on behalf of an amazing community activity and project he's involved with in Peru, in the Amazon, of protecting a large group of people and of land from, well, let's just say, encroaching vested corporate interests. And on the land, when not being interfered with, he's doing a lot of beautiful work with plant medicine and helping to educate people in some very deep, wonderful ways to help improve the evolutionary quality, if you will, of their lives. So it's really a beautiful gift to have Jorge on with us today to talk about some of the details of what it is he's doing to help protect one of the great lungs of the world and to help make life better for people everywhere. So, Jorge, mi amigo,
Very nice
bienvenidos.
being here again.
Good to have you.
Thank
Good
you
to
for
have
having
you.
me again.
Sure.
Okay.
So tell us in your words what it is you're experiencing, what's going on down there, what have you expanded into since you've been here last?
Yeah, well, in the last probably 5 years, I found this beautiful place of jungle on the shore of the Amazon River, about
In Peru?
in Peru, about 3 hours on normal boat upriver from Iquitos, from the big town of Iquitos.
Mm-hmm.
And I have bought some land there, and I have got some buildings and things to have basically my spot in the forest, in the jungle, where I work with medicine. I learn more about medicine. It's incredible the things that I have learned in the last years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very involved with the community, with the people there. I have made very nice friends, and I keep on exploring basically Peru on the Amazonian part. So I have a base there.
Is it all Spanish spoken or is it
Yeah, in the
Quechua
area,
or what?
in the area close to Iquitos, which was the greatest expansion of European presence from the, you say, rubber boom, you know?
Oh, yeah, sure.
In the very, very late 800s.
1800s.
1800s, yes. All the traditional communities there, even the tribe of the Iquitos, who
Mhm.
gave the name of the city of Iquitos,
Mm-hmm.
and other similar groups around, like the Kokamas, they have all been mixed up already in the population. So there is no traditional tribe or language that is widely spoken in several kilometers of radius around Iquitos anymore.
I see.
The tribes are far away. The government in the 1970s brought some groups from far away and artificially put them close to Iquitos to fulfill the tourism. So a lot of the tribes that you can visit in about 1 or 2 days around Iquitos have been basically migrated. Yeah, it doesn't mean that they are not kind of, they don't keep their culture and they are like the groups. But if you want to be really accurate about what has happened, that region has lost the traditional tribe life
Isn't that
many
interesting?
decades ago.
Wow, it's interesting that different tribes have been kind of mixing and matching in different ways like this, going back a long time, and that the powers that were then, maybe even 100 or more years ago, were making sort of artificial changes
Yes.
for commercial reasons.
Yes. For me, it's a very interesting.
Es verdad.
It's completely like that. And for me, it's a very interesting cultural observation process because it's very similar to what happened in the medieval ages with paganism. So people has kept what works for them in terms of popular culture, which is the knowledge of the plants,
Yes.
the reading of the forest, the signs of the animals of the river, of the clouds, the beliefs on the spirits, but it has lost the official frame of the probably more authoritarian system of cultural work and has been replaced by the Western one.
Oh.
The same what happens with the Celtic communities and and the
that's
Germanic
interesting.
communities in the medieval
Yeah.
ages. Christianity arrived and make everything function in a certain way, but what really worked for people, the way of reading, understanding the messages of the animals, the plans and the protocols to be used, still stay. So who are my friends in the village? It's a little village, is about 45 families, still no electricity, and I hope that will stay for a long time, but we never know. About
So it doesn't
400
matter if there's a blackout.
Yeah, it's never a blackout.
Based on what you're saying, though, I just have an image that I'd like to run by you based on what you're saying about medieval Europe and Christianity and what's happened in the Amazon to some extent. The similarity is like there's an organic expression of people on the ground, so-called indigenous, and the relationship to nature, to each other, reading the signs of nature, of the animals, of the clouds. And then there's the imposition, an artificial, if you will, imposition on top of that, that offers them a structure. It doesn't offer, I guess, it imposes a structure. And then they're in a sense coerced to adhere to that. But nonetheless, the life on the ground remains the same.
Exactly.
Beyond that container.
And it's very dynamic because that's the problem.
Dynamic is a good word, right.
Electricity has not arrived yet, but some people have batteries and they have kind of like 12-volt TVs and DVDs. So I can see that when the pressure of modern cultures arrive, it changes just in one generation extremely fast. So the power of the sacred fire control, which is the electron, is electricity. Because electricity was known in antiquity and all the time as probably direct current and forms of kind of magnetism and other forms of,
Well, according to Chinese thinking, Chinese medicine, electricity is really an expression of the element of fire.
Yeah, it is.
In fact, when electricity first started being put into, buildings and houses, even in Europe and the United States, one of the alarming ideas was, I'm going to have fire running through my house. Don't worry about it. It's conducted through this copper, lines. Don't worry. But people had real fear about it for good reason.
Yeah. That's very interesting because actually electricity was feared and is still felt in the Amazon through the storms and through the lightning that brings fire. It has always been considered not only divine but at the same time tricky, out of handle, and
hard to handle.
Yeah, and extremely dangerous.
Right.
So it was always this kind of
it's true.
hidden prohibition about not going into the management of electricity because we humans were not ready.
Well, that goes back to the Prometheus, not to go off chart here, but the entire myth of Prometheus in ancient Greece and the gift of fire, or stealing fire from the gods.
Exactly.
Which, I actually wrote a thesis about this as the gift of consciousness. And so there is an interesting relationship between fire, electricity, and consciousness. I mean, we have to be honest about it.
Exactly. I don't want to go too far away from the Amazon, just to say it quickly as a general universal.
Yes, absolutely. Please do.
The handling of electricity and the electron, so whatever it brings from media, from artificial intelligence, from the possibility of quick communications, all what looks nice, is such a powerful, difficult to handle and understand monster that who knows that also hides a very dark side and is behind the quick corruption of the more soft, patient relationship with time and nature.
Nicely put.
It's an important cultural observation for me because I'm seeing happening in the last 5 years in front of my eyes with my friends of the town, of the little village. It's so powerful what it brings and how it antagonizes with the soft, patient reading of life, nature, the relationship of understanding what is a gift, all the things that we have, from the morning sun every day that heats up and brings the warmth, from putting a seed and put water and see the miracle of a full plant that will give after 4 months some fruits. That has always been understood as a gift,
Right.
not as a mechanical process in the rational years, but as a gift. It's still a gift. So,
Well, this
so that's
is
what
the
is behind-
gift of the indigenous people to the Western culture and Western mind.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I totally get it. Tell us, if you would, about how this Western mind and culture and commercial interests, dare I use the word, trump the reality of the beauty that you're talking about here.
Yeah. Well,
What's going on
okay,
in
so-
your community?
So this is what is happening. I was there since 2012. I was traveling the area since 2010. I established myself in 2013. And I have this beautiful property and nobody hunts there. It's teeming with animals. It's beautiful. It has a lot of medicinal species. It's one of the places where I provide myself from my medicine. And I'm making an effort of planting. I have planted more than 400 different medicinal plants, and things like that. And it's really a corner of paradise for myself.
Mm-hmm.
About probably 4 or 5 years ago, I check a Google image of the area and I see this awful scar, a tumor. There is an agro-industrial company that has cut illegally thousands and thousands of hectares, not so far from where we are, to basically put cacao, to basically sell chocolate to the world. And I will be very, very straight about this. When I finish a lecture and I speak about the plants and the protocols about the sacred plants and the way the evolution and the renaissance of the use of the plants, and I try to cover several things. At the end, it's always the same question. What should we do to protect the Amazon, to protect the plants that are giving us back all these amazing medicines? And my answer is very crude. I'm sorry, but this is what I see in my everyday. I'm not tampered.
Por favor.
I see it. If we could stop the consumption of chocolate, coffee, sugar from sugar cane, and palm oil products, the rainforest of the world will be a lot safer.
Wow.
Because those 4 products, they do more damage than logging. People might say soy, but soy is very expanded and can be in more kind of cold, cool weathers. And we don't see soy so much in the Amazon. It's more like more like the pampas and the more flatlands. But in the rainforest, not only in Peru, in Malaysia, in Central Africa, in Indonesia, Southeast Asia, and Peru,
Palm oil, largely.
Brazil,
Indonesia, sure.
yeah, Brazil, Ecuador, Bolivia, Colombia, Venezuela. The big problems is...
How about meat? Soy for cattle?
Soy is a problem more, as I said, in more like flat, dry areas.
Right.
So like
Gold,
large
mineral,
extensions in Brazil.
mineral exploitation?
The gold is strong in the south of Peru, but in a global thing, is not the extent of the destruction of
Those
the
4.
surface of those 4 in the world.
And are those 4 also leading directly to the leveling of the ancient trees?
Yeah, absolutely.
Those are the main 4
yeah.
that are directly contributing to that leveling.
Yes, absolutely. If you check on a Google map what these cultures have done already in the land of Peru, it's just massive cutting to replace it by agro-industrial fast culture, because it's the grief drives the suffering consciousness impulses, which are basically what I want, the way I want it, how I want it, and if it is fast, it's better. So
And more is better.
Exactly.
So these are really important. Would you repeat those? Because that's really important, because this is something that people can actually participate in helping to reduce the demand for the supply.
Absolutely. And I don't have a quick answer or a fast solution.
No,
I'm
no.
just inviting to a communal thinking. We
and
have to
thinking
think
about it
those
together.
things.
Yeah.
We have to
And
expand.
you're there, you're an emissary coming to us, Jorge, from the Amazon, telling us what you are observing firsthand.
Exactly.
So we
Exactly.
appreciate that.
Yeah. My problem right now is really cacao. But I will say it again. But I know, I mean, coffee has become such an important help in many people's lives that people will not give up on coffee. So I don't see the solution. I'm just trying to explain
No.
better the question, you know?
I
And probably
understand.
that might lead other people find ideas about it.
Or there are ways of growing coffee in other places other than the Amazon.
Right. The thing is
It
that
is being done everywhere.
yeah, it's the same with the practices of mining that are very destructive. If we are led by faster what I want, the way I want it, how I want it, then you go for what is cheap and faster.
Sure.
And what is cheap and faster for tropical cultures
It's more
is to
expensive
go-
for everybody.
Yeah, is to go for where the weather is appropriate and where those plants are going to grow easy. So what you do is you cut the forest dry and then you put those cultures. So several thousands of hectares have been cut so close to where I am. I will say it again: cacao, coffee, palm oil, and sugar cane. The amounts of goods that our modern culture uses of those products, it's beyond what might be not even sustainable. It's beyond really like rational or intelligent. We take too much of those
Yeah.
for things that are actually not essential.
So it has to be mentioned, I think, in this context of overall Amazon destruction. What Bolsonaro in Brazil is doing, who has no mind of affection for the Amazon rainforest, is not comprehending that it's one of the two lungs of the world, has no respect for the indigenous people,
Yeah.
and is just mowing them down
Yeah.
just wantonly. Then, thankfully, like your work, we have also, I want to give just some honor to the Pachamama Alliance, and I've had a number of those folks on the TV show as well, talking about the work they're doing, mainly in the Ecuadorian Amazonian headwaters, to protect that, and the Achuar and other native groups down there as well. So in fact, and there's the Rainforest Alliance, there are numerous groups that are doing what they can, sometimes legally, sometimes on the ground, sometimes engaging in different sorts of fair trade business alliances to help protect and preserve the Amazon.
Yeah, it's so important.
Thank God
Yeah.
there are people
So
like you
Yeah.
and these others that are doing this
Yeah.
work right on the ground.
Yeah, I want to say that in Peru, it's a lot of intelligent, aware, good-hearted people. Peru is still a country who has a very important state protection of the Amazon. There's a lot of Amazonian reserves and parks from the state. Always the change of the president can try to lax a little bit
Influence.
some things. But in general, there is a lot of specialists and professionals in Peru who understand the importance of protecting. But what happens on the fields is something different than what is written on the laws.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing that happening in my place.
Yes.
So
Yes,
these people
yes.
have been told not to cut anymore, but they keep on cutting. They have damaged so much that, for example, several villages that are on the shore, like my village, people are basically hunters and gatherers. So most of the protein that is on their plate every day for their children, for themselves,
Protein.
come from hunting and fishing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you cut the land and you make large extension of land cutting, what happens is that a lot of herd animals, mammals from the jungle, they have natural corridors that are inscribed in their unconsciousness, like the whales' trails.
Yeah.
And in the last 4 years, for example, the wangana, which is a type of small jungle hog, a cousin of the peccary, which is more known with that name,
Yeah.
is not showing anymore on the shores. Before there were herds of 60 animals, people will take in some, they will smoke in that meat, and they had for months for the children. They have stopped coming. People are really concerned just because the landscape has changed for them. If you add that the addition of agrochemicals that poison the ground and poison the streams, but even something else, when the companies start to cut very quickly millions of trees, I'm talking about thousands of hectares, so millions of trees with machines, what they do is that to clear the land, they take all the bark and all the stuff that is not usable into the waterways. So the powerful tannins that are on that water tint the water becomes brownish, and the chemical content of the water changes, and all the animals and all the fish that were all the time in these very fragile cycles, that people know how to read the stream and when to put their nets, when to fish, and when to leave the stream alone. It's very dynamic living.
Sure.
Now those rivers become brownish, and you see all the fish like bubbling on the surface because they cannot stand the water anymore. And there's not a chemical, it's just the fact of cutting massively large amount of
right.
wood.
It's the concentration of the bark in one place, which is completely unnatural.
Right. I mean, I can go on. I have a long list of what are the problems that are happening there. To make the story short, to cut and damage the jungle and the life of a lot of families around to sell chocolate for the world, it's a bad nightmare. And sustainable cacao exists in very, very small amounts. And I travel extensively in my country. I'm a wanderer in my country, and I'm behind all the time the healing and the magical content that I can pick up from the land, because that what nourishes the healing family of a medicine person. So I have seen some good kind of conscious cacao plantations. But it's a joke that for somebody to believe that all those labels that you see in the cacao that is sold around the world by sustainable, really it is. I think it's a lie, because the amount of the demand cannot be fulfilled by real micro good attempts of having sustainability.
Growing.
Exactly.
I hear you.
And so that's what is happening now, you know. The company has, there's a lot of information about this online. The company has been sanctioned in several places. Even in Britain, the stocks have been frozen. The government of Peru has sanctioned. But the damage is done, and now the approach has changed. What the company is doing is approaching people of the villages who own their little parcels, that everybody owns the same kind of size of parcel, that provides so many different things, and people have some small tree plantations, some fruit things. They get the wood for their kitchen there. Sometimes they do a little bit of charcoal that they sell. Now the company is approaching these people and telling them, we are going to give you a loan. Mostly it's not money. It's basically the cacao seeds and the agricultural package with some products, and the visit of a engineer that will tell them what to do. So what they will, but they have priced that package, and they give that as a loan, with putting the property of their little parcels as a mortgage. And then the owner of the land will cut some trees and start putting cacao that is going to be bought by the company who is the only buyer of the area, and fixes the right price and the right amount.
This is, you mentioned medieval Europe before.
That's a good point.
And it is exactly the same archetype.
Yeah.
It's the same template.
Yes, because they become the serfs.
Exactly. They're the serfs.
Exactly. So what happens is that
they don't own it. It's mortgaged or mortgageable. And if they don't accord with the laws and the rules of the head of the fiefdom, they lose.
Yeah. So they go into play in this dangerous game, because at the end what is going to happen, and the company knows it very well, this guy will cut probably 10% of their parcel. But then he wants more money, and the prices will be kind of play out by the company. So at the end he will do what the company does with Caterpillar machines. They will do it by themselves with their own hands and axes.
Exactly.
They will end by cutting their land.
And machetes.
Yeah. They will end by cutting their land
Sure.
to have a just monoculture of cacao,
Exactly.
to sell the company on this race of paying back that will never get paid. And if the company wants to execute the mortgage, takes the land back. And I will say this about traditional life.
We're just about out of time, so
Yeah.
wrap it up.
You only have two things that you can give to your children on a traditional community: knowledge and fertile land, or land itself. If these people pass the land to their children will be able to keep on doing what have been done by generations.
Exactly.
But if the land is cut and is only all the time paying this permanent debt, they are condemning their successful generations to become
Exactly.
not even employees of the company that will be, like assured in some way. They will only become just peons that will be working their land to pay these things, and the whole life will turn about.
Give your crowdfunding website.
Okay, I will say what I'm doing. I have been offered by
We're out of
several-
time.
Okay.
So please just give us your site.
I can give you the link because the wording, but
All right, I'll write it
yes.
down inside the
Yes.
the
basically
video.
I'm trying to
Okay.
buy more land to protect what I have,
I
to
understand.
protect the village and make a corridor that will tamper and stop the advancement of the company. And a lot of
course.
elders have offered me pieces of land because they are very old, they are blind, they want to go away. And I have the opportunity.
And
but
they're
this-
behind you.
Yes,
So-
absolutely, absolutely.
Listen, we're out of time.
Okay,
So I want to thank you for
Thank
your
you.
incredible dedication.
Thank you.
I so appreciate it. It's
Thanks.
so muy necesario. So
yeah.
please keep up the good work.
Oh, thanks.
And we'll put your crowdfunding
Right.
link for
Thank you.
people to
Yeah,
see.
yeah. And so
Okay.
much similar things are going on around all the world right now,
I know
that
that.
need our attention.
I know that. We pay a lot of attention to it here at A Better World. This is Mitchell J. Rabin for A Better World. Thanks so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, in that bittersweet way that we're always dealing with and experiencing life. Contact me at mjr@abetterworld.net. I love to hear your feedback and your points of view and your suggestions. So thanks again, and visit us at www.betterworld.tv, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.